Hi there, I'm Dr. Sandy Conley, and I will be your instructor for the online Explorations in Cell Biology lab this fall. So, the questions. Online lab? I think most of you are probably thinking that you're doing virtual labs where you sit at your computer screen and you punch a bunch of buttons and you may or may not get out data that makes any sense from this virtual fake lab scene that some publisher has created. Fear not, that is not it at all. Instead, you'll be ordering your box of your lab pack from Handson Labs, which I've already sent you the information if you're in the course, and if not, it's on my courses when that opens up to you. And what you're going to get is a series of labs that are going to allow you to actually do experiments in your own kitchen, okay? I want to show you a couple of things on my courses, and then I'll show you a couple of things in the lab pack, but it's going to be hands-on exploration at its best, right? It's going to be you setting up experiments, you taking data, you generating graphs, taking pictures, telling me about what you found, okay? I don't want this to be a lab where all of a sudden you are just given a bunch of data and you don't know what any of it means, or if you had changed something, would any of the data change, and so on. This is really up to you to think about when you were a kid and you were just like, I wonder what this does. This is an opportunity for you to do a little bit of, I wonder what this does again. Okay, ready to get started? So on my courses, most of you I think are enrolled in my online lecture as well. This will look very familiar to you. It's the introductions with the announcements. Again, the show all tab is probably important to make sure that you get all the information from the beginning. Schedule will tell you when our labs are due. You'll see that you have 2 labs actually due on September 10th. This intro to online labs can be done at any time. The research method, you have to wait until you get your kit. So I encourage you, please order your kit immediately. Okay, it will take several weeks to get to you, and this September date will be here before you know it. And if you don't have your lab pack, you can't do the lab. Okay, so hop, get started. You'll see that there are quizzes associated with these as well. After a couple of labs, you'll have an online quiz. Don't worry, I remind you 1,000 times about when it is and what's going on with it and so on, okay? And your quizzes will be here on my courses. They'll pop up for you when they're available. You typically have about 5 to 7 days to complete those. So, and they shouldn't take you very long, okay? So they shouldn't be burdensome in any way. You'll also see on here when you go into content that there's my typical course information, course schedule, requirements, and so on, how you get in to Handson Labs, okay? You're also going to need, okay, so it's got all that for you in the Handson Labs. You're also going to need access to some way to videotape yourself and some way to make a virtual poster. So PowerPoint, Illustrator, whatever you have that you love to work in for the end of the semester project, rather than giving you a final exam or having some big practical, which is what we would typically have with a lab. Instead, what we do in this course is actually have an end of the semester virtual poster session, okay? So you see here that when you get through all of our modules and everything that's going on, you'll see that our final poster and presentation information will be here, and I'll get all this information posted for you. As we see how the semester's starting to shake out, I don't like to make everything due in the last week for you, so I'm going to try to avoid that a little bit, but Thanksgiving really throws a wrench in it for us, so we'll figure that out as we go. Okay, so that's the outline for my courses. There's not much here other than just making sure you're staying on track within each of the modules. It tells you kind of the things that would go along with it if you're taking the lecture, things you should understand a little bit, and what's going to be due. So your reports and your quizzes. And then if I have any lab notes to post for you, I'll put them here. Things that are cautions or things that work really well or things that other students have reported don't work well, I'll put information up there for you. Okay, so that's all there. Now the kit itself comes in a cardboard box, and I'm going to show you that. Okay, so your lab pack comes in a box, looks like this. Okay, lab pack, Handson Labs. It's a fairly small cardboard box, it seems, for an entire semester worth of stuff, but they cram it in here. Okay, and one of the first things I recommend to students is that you find another box to put this in, because it's not all going to go back in here. All right, they've got some packing material. Okay, fine. But then you start digging and you'll find things like these funny little plates, and looks like seeds and tweezers, and what does that do? And you'll find things like beakers and test tubes and thermometers, and you'll see what looks like scary chemicals, but I promise nothing is scary. You do a lab safety before you can do any of your labs on the Handson Lab website. There are 2 labs on that Handson Lab website, I'm going to show you in just a second, that you can do at any time. One is the intro to the labs, shows you how to move things around in the website. And the other is the lab safety. Don't pour these things down the drain. Don't eat these things. Don't let your dog get a hold of these things, that kind of stuff. Okay. But I promise none of this is super harmful to you. You just have to be careful as you would in any lab. But you're going to dig through here. You're going to find all kinds of stuff, safety glasses, a balance, aluminum foil, which may confuse you, but trust me, you'll need it eventually. Okay, and tape measures and all kinds of things that you're going to need throughout to do your experiments. Okay, so actually on the website, on the Handson Lab website, you're going to see when you go in this list of labs. So like I said, you can do getting started anytime. So if you click on getting started, it has an exploration section. I recommend from the beginning that when you have a lab that is coming due, please go in and look at these estimated completion times. Okay, there are a number of labs that will actually take several days to incubate, meaning you need to set them up about 48 hours before you actually want to take measurements. All right, and this is not something you can speed up in the microwave. All right, so go in here, see how long it takes, how long they estimate it'll take you to get through the evaluation, which is your actual lab report. Okay, so if you go in there, it's going to kick you into a lab report exercise. Okay, and this is showing me kind of this generic one right now, but it's going to, you'll see your own work like it says when you go through here. And the first one is very straightforward. Okay, where are you? What's the time in Fiji when you're completing this? Okay, and it's going to teach you how to go through those things. But when you get further along, and you'll see when you come in that you have to complete these 2 labs before you can do anything, getting started in lab safety. Research in the scientific method is our first one, our first real lab, and you see the experimentation they estimate will take you about 4 hours. Okay, so this is like you're sitting in a lab and waiting for things to happen. This is not going to be speed experimentation. Okay, so when you start through, it's going to ask you and give you some background information. If you're comfortable with hypotheses and so on by this time, maybe you don't need this. You can skim through it, see what you need. Ooh, lasagna. And when you keep going through, you eventually will get to the point where it's going to say, all right, you actually need some things now. So you need the tape measure I showed you out of your box. But it also is going to give you a student supplied section. So this means that it expects that you would have a calculator, you would have a pen or a pencil, and that you can find 30 people. Okay. This may mean that you go to the mall and you actually bug people in the mall and tell them what you're doing. Don't just walk up in a creepy way. Okay. But tell them what you're doing. They're going to ask you to collect data about people. And the idea is trying to understand how these data might apply to real world types of scenarios. Okay. And then it's going to ask you some questions. This is your lab report. Okay. As you're going through and answering these questions, you're filling out your lab report. There isn't a separate document for you to do. This builds it as you go. Okay. It's really great that way. And it will give you a little data thing here that actually shows you what you've done already and what's going along with that. and where you are as far as your place in your lab report. It's going to talk to you about body proportions and all kinds of things in this first lab. And then when you get finally all the way down to the end, when you get all the way through, that's why I said these are not all super quick. Now, depending on how much time you decide to spend writing and thinking, it will take you more or less time to get through these, of course, right? And when you're all done, though, you'll have this lab report generated. And what you're going to do is, this is it, okay? Your final report looks like this. This puts everything together for you. You can say, oh yeah, I like that answer. If you don't like that answer, go back and fix it, okay? If you don't like the answer you gave, and it gives you some, and says no sample answer here, because this is just a generation, basic generation of what's going on. I recommend you go into the materials. For each lab, it tells you what they expect you to have. Pen or pencil shouldn't be any big deal, calculator and so on. Students applied here, though, for biological macromolecules, which is lab number 4. They actually need you to have an egg and milk, okay, and a potato and vegetable oil to do these experiments. So if you are not living in an apartment, these things may be a little more hit and miss for you. So you're going to have to plan ahead for this a little bit, okay? I know a lot of you are living off campus, so this shouldn't be a big deal for you, but you'll need to think ahead and make sure you've got all this stuff, okay? And then it gives you the list of what they've supplied in your kit. So you should be able to find all of these things in your HOL kit, okay? And then it keeps going, pen or pencil again. But here it's asking for a coffee cup. Does it matter if it's a coffee cup or a teacup? I don't care what you call it, as long as it's a cup with a handle. Okay, it'll do just fine for you. And then again, you need a potato, so maybe 2 potatoes at the store if you're getting them, right? And it asks for things like sugar and a white piece of paper and things. And you'll see why, as you're going through, why you need these different things. And then the whole list of things that is in your kit, all right? But then in the next one, again, you need milk, and a stove or a hot plate. So here you're going to have to heat something. So again, something you're going to have to kind of think about a little bit as you go through, and things you'll want to look at in advance and not at the last minute, okay? When they say camera, digital, or smartphone, all they're asking you is to take pictures and upload the pictures. So however you do that is perfectly fine with your camera on your laptop, with your phone, whatever works for you, okay? So those things are all there. You should not have to do anything to submit your lab report. When you're all finished, it should be giving you a button that says submit lab report. I'm finished, basically. And when you do that, I'll get notification that you're all done with it and that it can be graded, okay? Remember the due dates for all of these, and I will add them in here as well for you so it's not confusing. I'll put them in as part of the beginning of your lesson. I'll put in a section that says what the due dates are. But if you want to make a note of them now in your calendar for the semester and you're planning ahead, all the report dates are here, okay? And you'll see that it's kind of cramped for the first like 2 months, but then November gets really empty, primarily because I want you working on your final poster sorts of things. In these last 2 labs that I've uploaded here for you on my courses, there's actually nothing due on those, but I would recommend that you look through them and think about them as you get ready to put together your final poster and your poster session, okay? So in the meantime, get your lab pack ordered. Okay, start digging through it and let me know when you have questions, okay? I don't expect you to do expedited shipping. It is more expensive, of course. You know how shipping works. But I do expect that you get it ordered soon, very, very soon, so that we are not against a crunch deadline of you may or may not have your kit in time, okay? All right, let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, have a wonderful day. Talk to you soon.